One of my most favorite episodes of Star Trek the Original Series, the Doomsday Machine would combine drama and action in an excellent balance that would show how wonderful science fiction television truly could be. Written by Norman Spinrod and directed by Mark Daniels, the Doomsday Machine would follow the Enterprise under the command of a mentally unstable Commodore, Commodore Decker, and their battle with a planet-eating doomsday device. Norman Spinrod was not a prolific writer, having only about 6 writing credits for television to his name, which is unfortunate in my opinion, as from what I've seen in the Doomsday Machine, he is a magnificent writer who could have really added to the universe in general. Mark Daniels, on the other hand, was very prolific in his directing, even having directed 15 episodes of the original series, including The Menagerie Parts 1 and 2, The Changeling, and Mirror Mirror. Daniels was a funny man. In fact, during the filming of The Doomsday Machine, he was bet that he couldn't finish filming the episode in less than the allotted 6 days. He took that bet, and won, finishing the episode in only 5 days of filming. Because he won, he got an extra $5,000 bonus in his paycheck. The Doomsday Machine was originally called The Planet Eater, and Norman began work on it on February 5th, 1967. Not exactly the greatest of titles given how good the episode actually is. Norman would change the title to The Doomsday Machine when he handed in his second draft teleplay on May 8th, 1967. Gene Alcoon would then take this second draft and rework a few items. And after a series of revisions, additions, and subtractions, the final script would be ready for filming on June 19, 1967, which was a good thing since filming for the episode was slated to begin the next day. The episode itself first aired on October 20th, 1967, and quickly became a fan favorite for the Star Trek fandom at large. William Windham, an excellent actor who would become quite famous in the 1980s for his portrayal of the character Seth Hazlitt on Murder, She Wrote, starring Angela Lansbury, was not the first choice for the role of Commodore Decker. Robert Ryan was, but Ryan was unavailable for the shoot due to prior commitments. Personally, I think this worked out quite well. Windham plays the character so well that as an audience member, you pity, hate, and love the character all at once. This is funny in itself since Windham played the character as though it was a cartoon character, not even realizing the strong influence that Moby Dick had on the writer's story. He recalls, "The Doomsday Machine was kind of silly. With the Planet Eater and the spaceships. I was playing Captain Ahab in outer space, but I didn't think about it that way until years later, when I read an article about the Moby Dick connection." There are many interesting little tidbits of Trek trivia in this episode. Did you know that the 3 crewmen that beamed to the Constellation with Kirk, McCoy, and Scotty were named after the original Series 3 assistant directors, Charles Washburn, Rusty Meek, and Elliot Schick? This episode would also debut the revamped engineering set, complete with dilithium crystal storage units, now occupying the center of the floor, with recycled Horta eggs from the episode Devil in the Dark decorating them. This revamp would have components that could be removed to allow for easy filming. As a result, if you watch the rest of Season 2 and 3 in engineering, you'll see consoles and set pieces disappear and reappear seemingly out of nowhere. The famous Starfield picture in the transporter room would also make its final appearance in this episode. Auxiliary control would also debut in this episode, although it would be as a set on board the Starship Constellation. There's an interesting little mistake in this episode in regards to the bridge. At one point, Kirk, standing in front of the main viewer, walks to Spock's science station to have a tete-a-tete. However, Kirk walks by a half console, a full console, then ended up at the science station. This is completely wrong, as there should be one more full station in between them. The footage of Scotty being tossed around in the engineering section of the USS Constellation is actually reused footage from the Season 1 episode Tomorrow is Yesterday. For the original special effects for this episode, the USS Constellation would be a modified version of the model kit released the same year of the USS Enterprise by AMT. As a result, the USS Constellation in the original effects doesn't have the same detail as the Enterprise does. So, as originally shown, it can be quite distracting. The Constellation's registry number of NCC 1017 came as a result of necessity, being the model kit only had the 1701 registry of the Enterprise. And so, a simple reworking of these numbers occurred. However, this would cause many canon debates within the Star Trek fandom as to how such a low registry number could appear on a Constitution class. This is something that canon has yet to answer. The Doomsday Machine model itself was actually done by dripping a windsock into wet cement. 1960s ingenuity. I think it was quite effective actually. But because of budgetary and effects practices of the time, the original effects would show the Doomsday Machine as being slightly transparent, with stars behind the Planet Eater clearly visible through its hull. This was actually a commonplace problem with Star Trek the Original Series effects shots. Sol Kaplan would write the suspenseful countdown music, and this music would be used and reused numerous times throughout the rest of the series' run. Originally in the script, Commodore Decker was not to sacrifice himself, instead turning command back over to Captain Kirk, admitting his wrongdoings and deciding to retire from the service. Thankfully, this ending was rewritten. The idea of the fall and redemption of a Starfleet officer is something that would be done time and time again throughout Star Trek's history with varying degrees of success. However, here it was done superbly and really adds something to the very special nature of this episode. Another interesting little Trek trivia tidbit comes about from the Decker lineage. Did you know, as written in Star Trek the Motion Picture, Will Decker was to be the son of Commodore Matt Decker? Part of the reason that Admiral Kirk would recommend Commander Decker to succeed him as captain of the Enterprise in honor of his father. In 2006, like all of Star Trek the Original Series' episodes, the Doomsday Machine would begin the process of being remastered. It was one of the most heavily enhanced episodes of the remastered series produced. There were 105 effects shots in the remastered version, in contrast to the usual 20 or 30 in an average episode. But due to this remastering, the USS Constellation would come to life and receive all the little details that would make this starship a beauty to behold, something which proves the benefit of the remastering process. When most fans look back on the Doomsday Machine, I'm sure they think positively about an exciting adventure of man versus machine, and at the same time man versus himself. This episode has certainly earned its place as one of the most beloved original series episodes ever created.
What happened to your crew?
Oh, we were dead.
Mr. Sulu, you will lay in an evasive course back to the Constellation.
Aye, aye, sir. Belay that last order, helmsman. We're going to attack.
You will carry out my last order, Mr. Sulu.
I am assuming command of the Enterprise.
But I would advise against it.
Scotty, get us out of here. Prepare to beam me aboard on my signal. Gentlemen, I suggest you beam me aboard.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little short trip into the behind the scenes of the original series episode, The Doomsday Machine. What did you think of the episode? What is your favorite original series episode? Well, leave me a comment in the section below, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, hitting that little bell icon so you won't miss a single video we release. Want to help the channel out behind the scenes? Then consider becoming a channel patron. The link to our Patreon account is in the description below. Thanks again for watching. Live long and prosper.